Today we will go for a very short session, okay? Because we will be having one more session at 7:30. What I'll do in the 7:30 session is we'll be discussing 2017 question paper. It may be difficult for you, but the fact is you will see questions from chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4, or stratification, and those questions you will be able to, connect it. Ignore the other areas, thinkers and other areas. In fact, almost the first 4 chapters we have done. So you will see a lot of questions which are coming from that, and we'll try to see how you're going to answer also. So that's what we are going to do at 7:30. So in this session, we will be discussing what? I'll be introducing you to the thinkers. Okay. So we are not going to start any thinker today formally. We will be starting with Marx tomorrow. We will see the detailed discussion on each and every theory of Marx. I'll be spending around 4 to 5 sessions. And then we will do Durkheim, Emile Durkheim. We'll spend another 4 to 5 sessions over there. And then we will go for Weber. I think we can do that in 3 or 4 sessions. And then Parsons, another 3 to 4 sessions. Merton, another 3 sessions. And then Mead. Okay. So these are the 6 important thinkers that we have. Guys, if you're preparing for some PCS and this Bihar PCS or UP PCS, some other thinkers also will be there, like Auguste Comte, Spencer and all. But we will not be dealing with that in this session because we are sticking to this syllabus. Okay. If that is the case, you need to add that along with the other materials. So we will be, in this session, what I'm going to tell you is what are the socio-economic background in which these thinkers are writing. Yeah, I'll upload the question paper discussion anyway. In case if you're not able to attend, no problem. I'll do that. So we will first see the different dimensions. Even though whatever I'm going to discuss today, we will see in the it will not be updated in the YouTube. We will be giving that in the application, right? You can watch the videos in the application. It is already there. You can see 2020, 2019, and all is already uploaded. Okay. So here in this session, what we will do is we'll discuss socio-economic background of each thinkers, in which context Marx is writing, Durkheim is writing, Weber, Mead, Parsons, and how the context is changing, and based on the change in context, the approach is changing. So we will first see the socio-economic background of each thinkers, in which context they are writing. So this is what. But guys, this is, again, I don't want you to read this multiple times after the session today, because these things anyway we will be covering in detail in each thinkers, right? So there is no need to do that. Then what we will do is we will discuss about the perspectives. Okay. For example, when we discuss about Marx, we will talk about a conflict perspective. Now here onwards is where we are going to see the different approach, different perspective. So there may be some situation, or there may be some social phenomena, or there may be some social issue, or there may be some social fact in Durkheim's language, or maybe social action in Weber's language. So we generally consider it as a social phenomena. Any social phenomena, like let's say crime is a social phenomena, right? So any religion, family, all these can be understood or interpreted by using different perspective. Guys, do you remember when we discussed about stratification, what Davis and Moore was trying to see, or Parsons was trying to see? They're trying to understand things in a functional perspective. They consider social inequalities are something which is inevitable and is desirable, and it has to be there so that it is maintaining the proper order in the society, or it is actually helping in the proper functioning of the society. The fact that inequality is present in our society means it is something which is functional, and the society is maintaining this inequality. The reason is society itself is able to function because of this inequality. Otherwise, society cannot survive. So that is going to be the approach of functionalists. Now you will be seeing they will consider religion as functional, they will consider crime as functional, they will consider suicide as functional. Anything, something which is existing in society, why it is there? It is there because it is having some function. If there is no function, it wouldn't have existed in society. Society itself will automatically eliminate it. So the idea is if something is existing, that is necessarily functional and necessarily fulfilling some vital functions for the society. That's what you will see from the approach of Parsons, Merton, and Emile Durkheim. Merton, there is some modification that we will see later when it comes to Merton. But guys, just get the flavor of this perspectives. Okay, so when I say functional approach, trying to see things in a functional way. So whenever you are writing any sociological answer, they will be giving you at the top, right? Right in a sociological perspective. This is the most important perspective that you're going to use. You will be, what do you mean by functions? You will be talking about the positives of anything. When you talk about religion, we will talk about the functions of religion. Religion is providing your comforting or solace function in the life crisis. Religion is integrating people, right? Similarly, when we talk about family, we talk about the functions of family. On the other hand, then we will try to see the negatives. What is that approach? That's the Marxist perspective or the conflict perspective. That is exactly the opposite of functional perspective. Okay, so when it comes to perspective, means the way you see things, the way you understand things, the way you interpret things. And guys, whenever you're writing an essay, this is something which is very important. You have to follow up. You cannot merely keep on writing the facts in your essay. Every point has to be coming with some perspective, right? The way, whatever you're writing, your point, your interpretation, your perspective should be reflected. If not, that is not going to be an essay. That is just merely the presentation of facts. Merely the presentation of facts is not going to get any rewards. You will not be rewarded if you keep on writing. Let's suppose they're asking you a question on public-private partnership. You keep on writing different types of public-private partnership and all, you're not going to get much mark over there. So we need perspectives, right? We need the positives, we need the negatives, we need all different perspectives, the feminist perspective. So when we discuss, but that we are not going to discuss here, the feminist perspective and all, that will be coming and developed later. We are focusing on these core thinkers. And in fact, there are no feminist thinkers, and also we don't want to look into that. In fact, from Marxism itself, you can see Marxist feminists are developed. Okay, all those I'll discuss in the coming time. So I hope you got this idea. Marx, when we see it is a conflict approach, family will be seen as dysfunctional, religion will be seen as dysfunctional. He considered religion as a hurt of hurtless world, soul of soulless condition, and opium of masses. Whereas functionalists will consider religion as a, giving a comforting function in your life crisis. Some rituals that you perform during the death, maybe your father or someone which is close to you, will give you a solace function or comforting function. So they will try to interpret in that way. Or religion is integrating masses, and how it is done and everything we will see later. Don't worry about that. Okay, in the chapter, in the theory on religion, we will see that. Apart from that theory of religion, there is another chapter separately in, I think 8th or 9th. There we need to see all the theories of religion by Parsons, Merton, Marx, Durkheim, Malinowski, and all these we will see. Okay, guys. So main approach that I want to discuss is, one is talking about the positives, that is a functional approach. The other is talking about the drawbacks or the negatives, that is a conflict approach. Even family is considered as dysfunctional, right, for many reasons. So these are two main perspectives. And then Parsons is also a functionalist. Merton is considered as neo-functionalist because from the functionalism so far, like Durkheim and Parsons, and there are many others, Malinowski, Radcliffe Brown, Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer, all these are functionalists, but Merton modified. Okay. Weber, we will talk about interpretive sociology. If you remember, I've told you that I will be discussing along with Weber when we discussed about the chapter 2 during non-positivism. I've told you in detail, we will be discussing that in Weber. So we talk about interpretive sociology. What is sociology? Sociology is interpretive understanding of social action. That is one theory itself. We will see social action, how you're going to go for interpretation, what are the different types of social action. That's what we are going to discuss in Weber. Mead, we will be talking about symbolic interactionism. That also, if you remember in chapter 2, I've told you, we will be discussing that separately so that we don't want to waste our time and energy in that chapter when we discussed about non-positivism. So guys, this is what we are going to discuss. So mainly we need to talk about, this is an introduction. I don't want you to, remember or mug up anything that we are going to discuss. Though I'll give you PDF where I talk about socio-economic background of each thinkers. We will also talk about the methods which is used by each thinker. For example, when we discuss about Durkheim, now it may be difficult even for you to remember if I name some methods. But over a period of time, let's say I've told you this 4 or 5 sessions, we are going to discuss repeatedly these methods that he used in his theory. For example, statistical techniques or quantitative methods, which he used in which theory, guys? If you remember, before also I have emphasized on this stressed on this, and I've told you this theory of Durkheim is a classical exhibition of the use of statistical techniques in sociology or quantitative techniques in sociology. Suicide, then indirect experiment. Which theory? I think I have not mentioned about that in the theory of religion, right? So multivariate analysis and all these methods we will see when it comes to Durkheim. When again we discuss about Weber, we talk about ideal types, we talk about Westerhand, we talk about causal pluralism, we talk about comparative analysis. So guys, when I say like this now, some of you are freshers and some of you have already attended coaching somewhere, but the freshers, don't worry about that. This is what exactly we are going to do over a period of time. And after, let's say 1 month or 2 months, you will also be like, the way I'm talking, you will also be in a position to do that. Okay, so you don't want to worry in case if I'm using these terms and new words, which is, I know most of you may not be knowing about indirect experiment. Most of you may not know about ideal types, Westerhand. It's okay, we are going to do that. So just don't worry about all these things. This is what now we will be spending for the next 22 days. And this is the 60% of your syllabus, guys. And if you're getting strong in this area, let me tell you, this is my strong area. So what I'm expecting is once you're done with this thinkers, you need to be very good in this. And the good thing is that if you are strong in thinkers, you will be super confident. By using these thinkers, you can interconnect everything, right? All the chapters, stratification, what we have discussed, Marx, right? Weber, we discussed about Parsons. Now you have a chapter on family. There also we are going to use all these thinkers, Marx, Durkheim, Weber, right? Parsons, Merton. Religion, we use that. Social change, we use that. Politics and society, we use them. Work and economic life, we use them. Except 1, 2, and the 3 chapter. Even in second chapter also, when we discussed about positivism, non-positivism, we used Durkheim, Weber extensively. Scope we have discussed, we discussed formal school, synthetic school, we discussed Durkheim and Weber extensively. Parsons, Merton, we discussed. Right? Even in the third chapter, when we talk about methods, quantitative, qualitative methods, we again talk about Durkheim and Weber. So there are no chapter except that emergence of sociology. And there are no topics which are, independent of thinkers. Maybe some random topics like communalism, fundamentalism, religious revivalism, but those are not that significant, guys. So if you are good in thinkers, I'll assure you 60% of your paper 1 is done. And you're going to score really, really good in paper 1. And always remember, paper 1 is completely in your hand. You can score really good in paper 1. No matter what happens, whatever kind of twisted questions they're going to ask you, you will be in a position to do it if you are good in thinkers. So make sure that you understand everything. So what we do is like last 2 days, we were doing that exercise, right? I was asking you to discuss also in the recap session. So one or two from you can discuss that. Once you start discussing in the class itself, things will be very simple for you also. If you can talk, you will be able to write. Guys, if you are able to talk, then only you will be able to write in a very good way. Right? At least in your mind, you should be talking. And here, just like that, you can do that. This is the best opportunity that you can have. Even some of you, I don't know that so many are there. Many names I don't know. And you're logging from Oppo, iPhone, right? Realme. I don't even know who you are. Even I don't know. So what you're worried about? There is an anonymity, right? And where we discussed about this anonymity before, can anyone tell me? This anonymity is an advantage. Which study where I have discussed about this anonymity? Can anyone talk about this? Yesterday also. Harold Gaul, that study, right? Brahmins are working as rickshawala, right? In the cities, not noblessness. Brahmins can work as rickshawala in cities. Why? Because of anonymity. Now you are also getting that anonymity. Nobody know, your friends know, nobody know who you are. I don't know, your video is not on. So you can simply talk, right? Then things will be very clear also. And anyway, you need to talk at least when you're going for the interview. Okay, so let's get started with this session. I'll go through the PDF now. Okay, guys, these are not that significant for you, but since we are starting with thinkers formally, I have to discuss this. That's the only reason why I'm doing it. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. That's the only reason that I'm doing it, because everything we are going to discuss independently in thinkers also. So the first one, Marx, you see the productive years. That means when he was writing, and out of which most active period, this is a period where you will see maximum writing from Marx. Same when it comes to Durkheim, Weber, okay, and then Mead, Parson, Merton. The socio-economic and political condition. Early thinkers Marx, Weber, Durkheim formulated their thoughts in the context of socio-economic political chaos in European society. We have already discussed about this situation in the emergence of sociology also. Europe was witnessing a massive transformation due to industrialization and democratization in particular, and modernization in general. We discussed about modernization, in that we have discussed different dimensions of modernization, out of which we have already discussed about this industrialization as part of economic modernity, right? And then democratization, that's a political modernity. These thinkers attempted to address the problem of social order faced by different countries of Europe. Although these thinkers wrote in similar context, right? Durkheim and Marx is writing almost in the similar context, but their interpretation is varying. Why? Because of the perspectives and the methods. Their responses to the situation were different in terms of use of different perspectives, method, and subject matter. So, guys, if you see here, Durkheim and Marx, if you talk about the perspective, is clear: conflict and functional. Methods, different thinkers are using different methods. Durkheim was more oriented towards like a quantitative method because he is a positivist. And Weber, if you see, more of a qualitative method. He is considered to have bridged the gap between the two. Subject matter obviously is different, right? For different Durkheim, it is social facts, macro, Durkheim, and then Weber, it is micro, social action. We discussed that in the scope of sociology, and in the coming session also, we are going to see all these things. Mead, an American social psychologist, intended to develop science of society which could solve the societal problems. American society during first half of 20th century was an emerging welfare state. The solution to social problems was one of the most important challenges before the welfare state. Parson and Merton writings in 1940s had an entirely different context. What is that? Colonialism is over. Welfare state has been established. Various international institutions like UN, right, IMF, World Bank, and all these are coming. People started challenging the supremacy of the West. So the situation was completely changed. Both were concerned about maintenance of social order. So whenever you see maintenance of social order in someone's approach, they will be focusing on functional approach. Developing guides to planning and more humanistic approach towards understanding society. In general, Marx, Weber, Durkheim, Mead are called as modern sociologists. Okay, so who are the initial sociologists? Comte, Spencer. These are modern sociologists. And you will see when we talk about Weber, we will consider him as father of modern sociology. Durkheim also we consider as father of modern sociology. Who's the father of sociology? Auguste Comte. Okay. And Parson, Merton were later sociologists, or sometimes referred to as contemporary sociologists. Out of this, Marx never called himself as a sociologist. Marx is actually not a sociologist, but we take him or consider him as a sociologist because of his concern towards society. Okay, so yeah, he's more of a philosopher, political scientist, and economist, right? Mead is a socio-psychologist. Now, what are the perspective? Durkheim, a functional perspective. Marx, a conflict perspective. And you will see different thinkers are using evolutionary perspective also. For example, these are something which we are going to learn in the theories, guys. Marx theory of historical materialism is using this perspective. Durkheim theory on division of labor is again using this perspective. So if you remember, when we discussed about intellectual background in the emergence of sociology, I've told you Darwin's theory of biological evolution, in fact, motivated and acted as one of the initial perspective in sociology. So Marx have used this approach, Durkheim have used this approach, Parson also have used this approach, and we will see in the sessions, okay? Then Max Weber introduced interpretive perspective. We discussed in positivism, non-positivism discussion, and I've told you we'll do that in detail. Mead, symbolic interactionism. Apart from this, Marx and Durkheim were macro sociologists, Mead and Weber micro, Parsons, Merton combined both perspectives. Now, methods we don't want to discuss here because different thinkers using different methods. For example, Weber, ideal types, Westerhand, comparative analysis, causal pluralism or probabilism, like this. These are all individual questions which you can expect as 10 markers. So we have to spend time on each of these. Okay. Once we do that, then you don't want to, remember separately. You'll obviously not going to forget it. Durkheim also, different methods we'll see. Views about individual and society. Guys, this is something which you can see from here itself. Marx and Durkheim, macro sociology. What does that mean? When I say views about individual and society, who's supreme here, individual or society? If you see macro sociologists, they are giving importance to primacy to society. Micro sociologists, primacy to individual. Others, right, both are important. For Parsons and Merton, both are important. So that's what I mean by. For a sociologist, the smallest part of subject matter is the individual and the largest is the society. So understanding the relation between individual and society has been the task of all thinkers. Individuals are woven into a pattern of relationship thus forming a society. These patterns of relationships are mediated by social institutions, social groups, social processes, which are present as an integral dimension of society. Different thinkers had different views about primacy and supremacy of individual versus society. Marx and Durkheim, they're macro, so giving importance to society over individual. Okay. Mead and Weber, primacy to individual. Parsons and Merton developed an integrated approach synthesizing both the viewpoints. For them, both individual and society are supreme. For example, Marx and Durkheim will say you are preparing for this exam because of the pressure from family or society. So they are giving importance to that social situation. But Mead and Weber will say you are preparing for this exam just because of your motivation. You are not worried about your family or society or anything. So these are the approaches. Macro, giving importance to society. The external influence, micro, only your internal motivation. But what Parsons says is, see, if you're taking only individual motivation, there are external pressure as well. You are ignoring that. Similarly, if you're only taking external pressure, you are ignoring the individual motivation. So both are there. One, there's an external pressure, influence, if not pressure, and then your own motivation. Both are there. If not, everybody would have prepared for the exam, right? Not only exam, I've just given that example. Now, these are the studies, these are the theories that we are going to learn. That's it. That's it, guys. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in the another 20 days. Any doubts here? I can just unmute you now. Guys, if you're free at 7:30, what is the time which I've given? Just 1 minute, guys. Any doubts here? 7:30, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So we will meet at 7:30, guys. Here, any doubts? That's what we need. Micro, macro synthesizing approach is what required. So that's a postmodern, right? Sanskritization is actually happening because of anonymity, because when you are migrating to another area, they don't know who you are. So that anonymity is there. Okay. But there is nothing to talk about anonymity. I am just discussing one example in that context. That's it. Okay. Okay, guys. See you at 7:30. Only if you're free, you attend. Because if you're a fresher and if you feel that you will be confused and you don't want to, then just ignore it.